Turn those mics on. We're back. We got Sean back. We're gonna do this.
South Park was a series created in 1997 by co-creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker. But did you know that prior to the show's successful 20-year run on Comedy Central, the duo met in film school in the early 90s, making independent films such as Cannibal the Musical, a film formerly known as Alfred Packer the Musical, which showcased his trek across the Yukon, and was independently funded only by the two guys themselves, plus whatever private investors they could ask, such as dental practitioners. The film was later distributed independently by Troma, which is a co-production of Michael Hertz and Lloyd Kaufman. Matt Stone and Trey Parker went on to create more independent shorts, animated ones, the most successful of which was The Spirit of Christmas, a film done in the classic South Park cutout style and distributed on archaic means such as VHS cassette throughout all of Hollywood, landing in the laps of luminaries such as George Clooney and even executives at Universal Studios, who later hired Matt Stone and Trey Parker to create their internal holiday video played inside the corporation. Playing with Hollywood such as this led Matt Stone and Trey Parker to the front door of Comedy Central, who wanted to create South Park as a full-run animated series, which did happen, and the show continues to run 20 years later. Never forgetting their film roots, Matt Stone and Trey Parker still made movies. They universally released their film Orgasmo, and even starred in the film Basketball, made by the Zucker brothers. They even made a film out of South Park itself, called Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, which came out in 1999 against Wild Wild West. However, Matt Stone and Trey Parker have never lost steam creating their series on cable. They can create an episode in under 6 days, which they still do every season. However, South Park had a very unsuccessful streak of video games in the late 90s, as game developers created South Park video games that were not overseen or supervised by Matt Stone and Trey Parker at all. These games were not a hit with critics and not a hit with Matt Stone and Trey Parker themselves. The streak ended, however, only a few years ago when Ubisoft released South Park: The Stick of Truth, a game that was personally oversaw by Matt and Trey at South Park Studios. This game was an RPG with a very fantasy-themed battle system, and characters were dressed in ways such as Tolkien characters and other funny parodies. The new game that has just been released is called South Park: The Fractured But Whole, and features a superhero theme, but still maintains the RPG elements. The new game features even more precise controls due to the new grid-based battle system. You can place characters anywhere on the grid to fight any enemy. You can place characters on either side of an enemy to knock them into each other, or perhaps knock an enemy into an object, such as a truck. South Park: The Fractured But Whole is filled with classic Matt Stone and Trey Parker written humor, and is very funny. However, I did notice that some of the newness and the freshness of exploring the South Park town was a bit worn off due to this being the second game after The Stick of Truth. However, if you didn't play The Stick of Truth, it's all new to you. In fact, every copy of The Fractured But Whole comes with a digital download code for The Stick of Truth. So, if you've never played it, it's like you're getting two great deluxe South Park games for the price of one. Things that you could collect in the first game, The Stick of Truth, such as Chin Pokemon, have been replaced by newer season items such as Member Berries, giving you a nostalgic memory every time you pick one up. That's right. For everything that you trade off in the new game, there's something funny around the corner, making it an equal predecessor to the last game. I enjoyed The Fractured But Whole very much, and even though some of the freshness has worn off, it's still a great and hilarious title with even better controls and a much better, much cleaner user interface. Matt Stone and Trey Parker have to be commended for dabbling in every form of media. They had great success on Broadway with The Book of Mormon. They even made flash animation at the infancy of the internet with cartoons such as the Princess series. Matt Stone and Trey Parker have even just done music. For example, the theme song to Saul of the Mole Men, an Adult Swim show that Trey Parker sang. Trey Parker even dabbled in voice acting with Despicable Me 3. But the two continue to work with each other creatively every single day. They even made another show on Comedy Central, That's My Bush, in 2001. And while some may say it wasn't successful, others see it for what it is, a successful skewering of the political landscape in the early 2000s. They left it up to the results of the election to decide what show they were going to make. Would it be for Gore or Bush? But That's My Bush proved difficult, as George Bush always provided weeks worth of comedy for every episode. Whether you find that show a hit or not, it's an example of how far Matt Stone and Trey Parker are willing to go when they already have a successful cable show under their belt. They'll never stop pursuing every creative opportunity possible, which is why I've always commended the two. Even when they fail and their material sucks, they're always willing to try. And for that, I'll always pat them on the back and continue to support them. South Park: The Fractured But Whole is a great game and is worthy of anybody's time and money. This has been my review of the game. I hope you enjoy playing it as much as I did. Thank you.
Were you not going to mention Kenny versus Spenny?
Fuck! Oh! Fuck! Fuck! Fucking Christ. Just let me get... I have one... Just sit down, dude. Come on. Sit down. 5. Ready? Are we still going? 5. It's going to take 2 seconds to just do one last one. Ready? Sean. I need you to sit down before I can... Hello? Hello? Are we still? Just sit down. Ready? Okay, I'm going. 5. South Park is a series created in 1990... Sorry. See, I'm distracted. Just sit down and we'll be good. Ready? Just sit down and do it. I'll do one more and then we're done. Now I'll remember Kenny versus Spenny this time. Ready?
I don't even know if you want to mention them. The last one was good.
No. They produced other people's shows. We didn't talk about their production.
Did we decide if he should mention Kenny and Spenny or not?
Yeah.
I don't think he has to.
You don't think he has to? I think he should.
I just need him to sit down. Okay.
Give him an answer either way.
South Park is a series created in 1997 by co-creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker. But did you know that prior to the successful 20-year run of the show on Comedy Central, the duo met in film school in the early 90s, creating independent films such as Cannibal the Musical, a film formerly known as Alfred Packer the Musical, which showcased his trek across the Yukon and was funded only by Matt and Trey themselves and private investors such as dental practitioners or whoever they could ask. The film was later distributed by Troma Productions, a co-creation of Michael Hertz and Lloyd Kaufman. The duo, Matt and Trey, later created independent shorts, animated ones, the most successful of which was The Spirit of Christmas, a classic film done in the South Park cutout style, and distributed on archaic means such as VHS cassettes throughout Hollywood, landing in the laps of luminaries such as George Clooney and even executives at Universal Studios, who later hired Matt and Trey to do their internal holiday video for their corporation. Mingling with Hollywood elites led Matt and Trey to the front door of Comedy Central, who wanted to pick up the animated series South Park as a full-run show, which it still is, to this day, running on Comedy Central in their 21st season. Even though the show was a hit, Matt and Trey never forgot their film roots. starring in movies like Basketball, and worldwide release of their own films such as Orgasmo, and also their marionette film Team America World Police, distributed by Paramount. They even made a movie version of South Park called Bigger, Longer, Uncut, which came out in 1999 opposite Wild Wild West. But even though the box office has always wanted Matt and Trey involved, they still have love for their cable series South Park, which they still work on a 6-day turnaround per episode. However, the show had a very unsuccessful run in the video game world in the late 90s. Video game developers created very critically unfavorable games without the direct supervision of Matt and Trey. The streak, however, ended only a few years ago when Ubisoft released South Park: The Stick of Truth on modern consoles and PC. That legacy continues with South Park: The Fractured But Whole, a second game in that series, overseen by Matt and Trey and South Park Studios in collaboration with Ubisoft. Where the first game had the theme of fantasy over an RPG elements, the new game, while still an RPG, features the theme of superheroes. There's much more precision in its controls due to the new grid-based battle system. You can place your characters anywhere on the grid to attack your opponents, such as on either side of an enemy, causing them to knock into other characters, or you can simply knock an enemy into an object, such as a pickup truck or a mailbox. Having more precision makes the controls feel that much better in the Fractured But Whole, compared to the Stick of Truth. However, I found that some of the newness and freshness of exploring the South Park town was a little worn off due to this being the second game. However, there were still many funny and hilarious things to find in that town. Things that you could collect in the first game, such as Chinpokomon, have been replaced by newer season items, such as member berries, who give you a hilarious piece of nostalgic memories every time you pick one up. Both games were very successful in their goal. But if you never played the Stick of Truth, you'll be happy to know that there's a code for a digital copy in every copy of South Park: The Fractured But Whole. If you never played the first one, you're getting 2 new games for the price of 1, leaving this to be a great value no matter who you are. I had a great time playing The Fractured But Whole. And why I continue to support Matt and Trey is their continued commitments to enjoy and step their toe into all forms of art. They had great success on Broadway with The Book of Mormon. They even dabbled in flash animation earlier in the 90s with, sorry, that was the 2000s.
Oh my God.
South Park was...
He should sit down.
Waiting. He's going to sit down here or what? Okay, because it's a lot smoother if he's sitting.
Be better if he was here, in front of the camera.
Because none of it matches up if he...
I don't know. I'm really starting to hurt. This hurts real bad.
I only got time for about 7 or 8 more, so...
You please.
He can do it in 4 minutes if he gets it right. 3 if he goes fast.
Someone take the horn away from Kevin.
No.
South Park was a series created in 1997 by co-creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker. But did you know that prior to the series' successful 20-year run on Comedy Central... Sorry. South Park was a series created in 1997 by co-creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker. But did you know that prior to the show's successful run on Comedy Central for over 20 years, the duo met in film school in the early 90s, creating independent films such as Cannibal the Musical, a movie formerly known as Alfred Packer the Musical. This film showcased the trek across the Yukon and was independently filmed both by Matt and Trey. Sorry, independently funded.
Oh.
South Park is a series created in 1997 by co-creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker. I want to make sure I get Kenny versus Spade.
Don't forget that one. I'll have to start over.
Jesus Christ. Turn the fucking thing off. Fucking serious?